The New Norm is brought to you by Winning at Home. I'm Steve Norman. Welcome to the New Norm. When kids are young and we try to teach them manners, we say if you ask somebody for something, you should say please. If they give you the thing that you requested, you should say thank you. And there's some other instances that require some special phrases, like if you hear somebody sneeze, you should say, God bless you. Do you have any idea where that started? The story is that over 1,400 years ago, there was a pandemic in Rome. And it was so dangerous and so fatal that one of the signs that you were starting to get sick is that you'd sneeze. So Pope Gregory issued an edict across the city. He says, if you hear somebody sneeze, you're to say, God bless you. It wasn't just kind of like a polite acknowledgement that they had a sniffles. It was a kind of prayer. It was a radical intervention for somebody who was about to die, a way of saying, may God give you life. And this idea of giving someone a blessing, speaking words of life to them, goes way, way back. In fact, the very beginning of the story, in Genesis chapter 1, verse 27, we read, God created men and women. And the very next line, verse 28 says, God blessed them and said to them, be fruitful, increase, and fill the earth. On the very first day that Adam and Eve were alive, God blessed them. It's like we bless kids on the first day that they're born. As parents, we say, it's a boy, it's a girl, they're beautiful and they're perfect and they're awesome. Blessing is valuable because it gives us a few different gifts. First, a blessing tells us who we are. It says, you are not invisible. You are loved. You're children of the Most High God. You are creators who are created in His image. The writer Henry Nouwen said, to give a blessing is to say yes to another person's belovedness. A blessing touches the original goodness of the other and calls forth his or her belovedness. Someone once said, blessing another person is like seeing the gold that is hidden underneath the surface debris of a person's life and calling it out. When our kids were younger, we used to tuck them in every night, and we would use the nickname that we had for each one of them, kind of an extension of their given names. So when we tucked in Grace, we said, hey, Grace, never forget that you're a precious gift. And Naomi, you're a brave friend. And Josiah, you're named after a strong king. And Miriam, you're supposed to be a freedom song. We try to remind them of who God and we say they are on a regular basis. Blessing tells us who we are. Blessing tells us who we belong to. It says you are not alone. A blessing says you belong to God. You belong to His people. You belong to our family. Genesis 48 said that Joseph was blessed by his father Jacob at the end of Jacob's life and said, may the God before whom my fathers, Abraham and Isaac, walked faithfully, the God who has been my shepherd all my life to this day, the angel who has delivered me from all harm, may He bless these boys. May they be called by my name and the names of my fathers Abraham and Isaac, and may they increase greatly on the earth. That blessing reminded them that they were part of a spiritual heritage. They weren't just kind of random blips in the history of the universe. There was a thread that connected them generations back that brought them to Abraham and Isaac themselves. So blessing tells us who we are. It tells us who we belong to. And finally, blessing tells us where we're going. Blessing says, you're not done on your journey yet. God is inviting you forward in faith, forward in peace, forward into God's presence. Genesis 49 describes an incident where Jacob called for his sons and said, gather around so I can tell you what will happen to you in the days to come. Assemble and listen, sons of Jacob. Listen to your father Israel. Then he goes around the table to kind of speak to the future and the destiny of all 12 sons. So why is it so important to bless the people around us? Specifically, if you're a parent, why is it so important for you to bless your kids? Because if they don't discover their value and worth and dignity at home, they will look for it elsewhere. We realize this in the story of Jacob and Esau. Isaac and Rebekah have two sons. They're twins. Jacob is the younger. Esau is the oldest one. And Esau was kind of like a man's man. If he was driving a pickup truck, there would have been like a big old flag and a shotgun rack on the back end. Jacob was kind of a mama's boy. He was a little bit more fragile. And because there was this unhealthy rivalry, this kind of toxic dysfunction in their family, Jacob wanted the best for Esau and Rebekah wanted the best for Jacob. So Rebekah devised this scheme where Jacob would dress up like his brother and give his father some fresh game and pretend to be Esau so that he could receive Esau's blessing, the family blessing that would only ever go to the firstborn. So Jacob went close to his father, who touched him and said, "The voice is the voice of Jacob." Isaac's really old. His eyesight is failing him. "But the hands are the hands of Esau." He did not recognize him, for his hands were hairy, like those of his brother Esau. So he proceeded to bless him. Again, this is all part of the ruse. Like Rebekah had taken goat skin and put it on Jacob's arms so that he would appear to be more hairy than he was. "Are you really my son, Esau?" he asked. "I am," he replied. Then he said, "My son, bring me some of your game to eat, so that I may give you my blessing." And Jacob brought it to him, and he ate, and he brought some wine, and he drank. And then his father Isaac said to him, "Come here, my son, and kiss me." And so he went to him and kissed him. And when Isaac caught the smell of his clothes, he blessed him and said, "Ah, the smell of my son is like the smell of a field that the Lord has blessed. May God give you heaven's dew and earth's richness, an abundance of grain and new wine. May nations serve you and peoples bow down to you. Be Lord over your brothers, and may the sons of your mother bow down to you. May those who curse you be cursed, and may those who bless you be blessed." And after Isaac finished blessing him, and Jacob had scarcely left his father's presence, his brother Esau came in from hunting. He too prepared some tasty food and brought it to his father. Then he said to him, "My father, please sit up and eat some of my game so that you may give me your blessing." His father Isaac asked him, "Who are you?" "I'm your son," he answered, "your firstborn, Esau." Isaac trembled violently and said, "Who was it then that hunted game and brought it to me? I ate it just before you came and I blessed him. And indeed, he will be blessed." When Esau heard his father's word, he burst out with a loud and bitter cry and said to his father, "Bless me, me too, my father." But he said, "Your brother came deceitfully and took your blessing." Esau said, "Isn't he rightly named Jacob? This is the second time he's taken advantage of me. He took my birthright and now he's taken my blessing." Then he asked, "Haven't you reserved any blessing for me?" And Isaac answered Esau, "I have made him lord over you and have made all of his relatives his servants. And I've sustained him with grain and new wine. So what can I possibly do for you, my son?" Esau said to his father, "Do you have only one blessing for me, my father? Bless me too, my father." Then Esau wept aloud. And his father Isaac answered him, "Your dwelling will be away from the earth's richness, away from the dew of heaven above. You will live by the sword, and you will serve your brother. When you grow restless, you will throw his yoke from off your neck." Esau held a grudge against Jacob because the blessing his father had given him. He said to himself, "The days of mourning for my father are near. Then I will kill my brother Jacob." Mark Laberton once said, "No two kids ever grow up in the same family." Think about these questions. What did blessing look like in your family growing up? Who was praised and for what? When and how was blessing withheld? And where did you hunt for blessing going forward? See, the problem with Isaac's blessing is that it was finite. There was a limit on how much he could give. It was permanent. It couldn't be changed, edited, or withdrawn. And it was exclusive. Only one person could get it. And because that blessing was so fragile, so rare, Rebekah schemes for the blessing. Jacob lies for the blessing. Esau weeps for the blessing. And eventually, Esau is prepared to kill for it too. Now, fast forward an entire generation. Listen to the blessing that Jacob gives his 12 sons at the end of his life. He says this in Genesis 49, "Naphtali is a doe set free that bears beautiful fawns. Joseph is a beautiful vine, a fruitful vine, whose branches climb over a wall. With bitterness, archers attacked him. They shot at him with hostility. Your father's blessings are greater than the blessings of the ancient mountains, than the bounty of the age-old hills. Let all these rest on the head of Joseph, on the brow of the prince among his brothers." And later it says, all these tribes are the 12 tribes of Israel. And this is what their father said to them when he blessed them, giving each the blessing appropriate to him. So how does it work? Well, Jewish families have a tradition on every Sabbath where they bless wives and mothers, and they also bless children. And the blessing for girls says, may God make you like Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah. And for the boys, the blessing is, may God make you like Ephraim and Manasseh. And for both, they'll pray, may God bless you and keep you. May God's light shine upon you and be gracious to you. May you feel God's presence within you always, and may you find peace. Brad Griffin, who works for the Fuller Youth Institute, says that he just conditioned himself to pray 2 prayers for his children. The prayer that you are loved and that you're never alone. And if you're not somebody who's accustomed to praying for your kids out loud, or if that's something that kind of frightens or intimidates you, a 2-line prayer is pretty easy to pray. When Kelly and I were dropping our firstborn, Grace, off at college, that's what we prayed for her. God, while Grace starts her new journey, may she always know that she's loved and that she's never alone. So how does it work? Like, what does it look like for us to live a blessing-rich life towards others? Well, first, you have to receive the Father's blessing for yourself. You can't give away what you don't have. And God says this over his son, you are my son, whom I love. In you I am well pleased. I delight in you. I think God says the same thing over you. Zephaniah 3:17 says, the Lord is with you, the mighty warrior who saves. He will take great delight in you. In his love, he will no longer rebuke you, but will rejoice over you with singing. Luke 1:14, an angel is speaking to Zechariah about his future son that he's supposed to name John. And he says, he will be a joy and a delight to you, and many will rejoice because of his birth. And if you've never had a moment in your life where you've really sensed God's joy and delight in you, I want you to ask God to show you, to be able to say, like, God, I want to bless others, but I don't know that I've ever felt or received or heard your words of blessing. Will you speak them over me in a way that I can understand? I think that is a prayer that God loves to answer. So first, we receive the Father's blessing for ourselves. Second, we bless others in the name of the Father. You bless your family. For us, like I said earlier, everyone's name has a phrase that goes with it that we use to celebrate them. If you don't have that yet, it's not too late to write or create one, kind of a tagline that goes with somebody's name that speaks to the story that God is writing with their lives. Also, when we do birthdays at our house, when we go around the kind of table before we all eat cake, everybody who is not the birthday person says something that they love about that person. And we go around that circle for as many times as it takes to reach the number of years that person has become. Hebrews chapter 11 says this, by an act of faith, Isaac reached into the future as he blessed Jacob and Esau. By an act of faith, Jacob on his deathbed blessed each of Joseph's sons in turn, blessing them with God's blessing, not his own, as he bowed worshipfully on his staff. So we bless our families. We also bless our community. And Numbers chapter 6 gives us a template for how to do that. It's what we just celebrated as the Sabbath blessing for families. The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face shine on you and be gracious to you. The Lord turn his face toward you and give you peace. Not only do we bless our families, not only do we bless our community, but we also have this mandate from Jesus to bless a really hard group of people as well, which is our enemies. Jesus says in Luke chapter 6, but to those who are listening, I say, love your enemies, do good to those who hate you, bless those who curse you, and pray for those who mistreat you. This is really hard to do. And in fact, the book of James says, hey, it's really easy to do kind to the people who are kind to us. It's hard to bless those who curse you, whether they're doing it in person or they're doing it online, whether they're doing it in private or they're doing it in public. But Jesus mastered the art of blessing enemies. He knew that there wasn't any value, there wasn't any life in hanging on to grudges, hanging on to resentment, hanging on to bitterness, entertaining dreams of revenge or payback. And Jesus says, Forgive the people who are hurting you because they've got such hurt, such confusion, such ignorance in their life. They don't even understand the damage that they are causing. And when we learn how to bless our enemies, we take all of the fuel for anger in our lives and we snuff it out. And when that's gone, there is more emotional bandwidth to give to love and gentleness and kindness than there was before. So the next time you hear somebody sneeze, go ahead and tell them, God bless you. But also be reminded that it means so much more than just that. The New Norm is produced and distributed by Winning at Home. If you're enjoying the show, if you're finding encouragement from it, you think that it could equip and inspire somebody else in your life, pass it along to them. And if you've got a moment, do us a huge favor and rate the show and give it a review. That'll help other people find it as well. Winning at Home is a faith-based nonprofit committed to making couples, families, and businesses stronger through counseling and coaching. For more information, visit winningathome.com. I'm your host, Steve Norman. Thanks for listening.